All right. Thank you, Leslie. Hi, my name's Kristin. I'm an alcoholic. I have come to understand that I have the disease of more. There's not a whole lot I haven't tried, and out of all of that, there's not a whole lot I didn't like. Out of respect for the fellowship where I found recovery, I identify as an alcoholic. Makes it easier to speak about it. So I am an alcoholic. I'm also an adult child of an alcoholic. So childhood wasn't great. It wasn't all bad, but it wasn't great. Home wasn't my safe place. School became my safe place. So that is where I excelled. And I found some really great teachers and mentors there, friends. My friends' families, I kind of learned early on were not like my family. And it didn't kind of click until maybe late elementary school, early middle school. So I really understood, I think, what a healthy family looked like. My mom and dad divorced when I was in 3rd grade. I had a little sister that came along when I was 6. And that was like the best thing ever. I was so happy to be a big sister. I wanted to be her little mommy. I liked to change the diapers and do the bottle. I was just enamored with my little sister. And of course that changed as we got older. We became mortal enemies, but I remember loving her so much when she was little. I did really well in school. I picked up quickly. And because I loved school so much, I wanted my teachers to like me. I wanted them to give me that positive feedback of, I'm so smart, I'm the best student, I'm so well behaved, because I was. I never stepped out of line. I never wanted to get in trouble. I always wanted to please them. My home life reinforced that if you step out of line, you really get in trouble big time, and there are big consequences. So I excelled at school. Middle school and high school, I started to rebel. I was a rebellious 8th grader, high schooler. I started smoking pot, I think, when I was 14. I can't pin it down. Have no idea when I took my first drink. Alcohol was just in the house. So it wasn't uncommon for me to fetch a beer out of the fridge and crack it open and take the first couple of sips before I handed it off to the parent that requested it. Pot started about 14. I had friends and they had pot. They had older siblings, so they had pot and we smoked pot. That's what we did. We would stay after school for sporting events, and before the track meet or the football game or the volleyball game or whatever, we would go smoke pot, maybe smoke some cigarettes. I think I smoked pot before I smoked a cigarette, to be honest. And that's how we kind of rolled. We were all in the advanced classes. We were all the smart kids. So no one ever expected that we were also the degenerates on the railroad tracks, busting beer bottles and smoking pot. Someone brought mushrooms when I was in middle school still. And I was like, I think that might be not a great idea right now, but maybe later. And it definitely happened later. That's how my school years rolled. It was just whatever was available. It was yes. I never said no. Never said no to anything. I always did well in school, so there was no reason to be concerned about me. My parents never caught on. When I was 16, my dad gave me some money and he let me go through the whole car buying process myself. I bought the car. My parents helped me insure the car with the understanding that I had to get a job and pay for the car myself. So that's what I did. I got a job. I maintained a 4.0 GPA, and every spare moment I had was spent getting high, drinking. I tried Coke in high school, just everything. It was kind of a buffet of whatever was available. We all had jobs. We would all go after work and party. And, I kind of laid it out to my parents when I was 18 that they couldn't really tell me what to do. I made good grades. I had a full ride waiting on me to college. So, my mom tried to give me curfews and tried to do what moms try to do to protect their daughters. But I wasn't hearing it. And she really could not control. My car was in my name. She couldn't do anything. So I just kind of asserted my independence and went. I got a full ride to college. Went to, the college of my choice. And I was so happy to get out of my mom's house. I felt like I'm free. I'm finally free of all of the coming home to interrogations and, your eyes are red. I smell alcohol on you. Like, yes, you do. And yes, my eyes are red. And I'm going to bed now to get up and go to school again. I didn't have to come home to that anymore. So college was a whole new world. And my ability to function academically and party at the same time, I wasn't able to do that so well in college. Everybody in college was smart. In my high school, I was one of the smart kids. And then I went to a place where everyone's smart, and a lot more was expected of me in college. So I started struggling big time. After my first semester, I found out that I was going to be put on academic probation and that I could potentially lose my scholarship. And that terrified me, because then that meant I would have to go home and admit defeat. And I was not going to do that. I was not going to admit defeat. I've been so self-sufficient my whole life. Up until that point, I was not going to do that. So I really, I buckled down and did well in school for the most part that second semester of my freshman year in college. One night, my roommates and I decided to go out to a party because I was still partying. I was just trying to manage it a little better. They were girls from my dorm, and it was a pimps and hoes party. And I was a pimp, they were my hoes. I was dressed up in a really ridiculous outfit, big fur coat, hat. We went out to a party and it was a lot of fun. I was never the DD because that's not something that I was available for. And I just threw that out there always. I can't be the DD because I will never be not drinking. So one of the girls was like, I'll be the DD. And that didn't mean that she wasn't going to drink. It just meant that she was not going to drink as much as the rest of us. And we all knew that. We knew she was drinking. We made the decision to get in the car with her after she had been drinking. We went to another party. That's where my memory of the night stops. No clue. So what happened, my understanding of the events that happened is all secondhand because I don't remember anything. We left a party going back to our dorm. I laid down in the back seat with no seatbelt on. There were two girls in the front. It was in a mid-90s Nissan Sentra. I don't know if anybody's old enough to remember the seatbelts that were automatic. They were on when you close the door, there was a seatbelt that just went like that, and it locked on you. We wrecked. We went over a guardrail. The car flipped. It flipped a lot, and we went down a ravine. And myself and the passenger were in the vehicle still. The driver crawled out through the back windshield over top of me to get help. And we were pulled out of that vehicle. I do vaguely have a memory of the smell of gas and exhaust, maybe burnt rubber, and seeing the passenger. She had short blonde hair and we were upside down, and she was hung on that automatic seatbelt. And she's crying and her hair was standing straight up because, we were upside down and we couldn't get the seatbelt because it was locked. It was an automatic seatbelt, and the seatbelt clip is up top and it's not down bottom like in a traditional car. So we couldn't figure it out. She was stuck, and they apparently had to cut her out of the car. We all went to the hospital. Most of my memories pick up in the hospital, handcuffed to a bed in my pimp outfit. And that was pretty humiliating, having to explain I was cut. I had blood and cut and glass everywhere. And I'm having to answer questions from the police to the medical staff to I think someone's parent came in. It was a nightmare because they wanted to know who was driving. No one was admitting to being the driver. And of course, I'm not a narc, so I'm not saying who was driving. I have no idea who's driving. Oh, I don't know. The girl who was driving, it wasn't her vehicle. So, yeah, I was injured. I broke my collarbone. I had cuts all over my hands and arms. I'm a right-handed person. So one of my injuries was a deep laceration to the palm of my hand. I got stitched up and went along, my life after that. The driver of the car got in some big trouble. I didn't press charges. The girl that was the passenger of that car had some serious injuries. So she had a really bad leg injury. She had to have lots of surgeries. She didn't finish college after that. I don't know what became of her. I've looked for her kind of since then. Never found her. Maybe one day I'll run into her and get to talk to her and possibly make an amends there. But my wounds did not allow me to write. So in college, taking notes and taking tests, it was really difficult. The school worked with me. They were great. They gave me a scribe, a person that took notes for me in class. They allowed me to take verbal tests. I mean, they were going to work with me, no matter what. But I was at that point kind of defeated. And I was really looking for a reason not to go back to school at that point. I was going to have to make up a lot. I was going to have to work really hard. And I didn't really want to do that. I didn't want to do that. I was introduced to pain pills after that accident. I got a narcotic pain pill for my injuries. I was pretty beat up. So I took a little break after the accident. I had to come home. My mother brought me home. Oh, that was terrible. She wanted to wait on me hand and foot, and I was miserable. So I went out and partied. That's what I do. It's what I do to make myself feel better. I'm a social person. I like to hang out with people. So I went out, and one of my friend's moms happened to find out that I had narcotic pain medication. And she's like, hey, you can crush that up and sniff it, and it gives you a real good buzz. And I'm like, let's do that. So we started doing that, and we went through that all of the meds that night. Like, we went through it all. And then she said, do you have a prescription for more? And I was like, I don't know, let me find out. So I went back to the doctor and I was like, hey, I need some more pain meds. I'm still really in pain. And that's how I learned how to procure pain medication. That's where it all began, right there. I didn't go back to school full time, really. I moved back to the college town that I was in, not in the dorms. I was totally out of the university at that point. I lost my scholarship, withdrawn from all my classes. But I did get an apartment that I paid for myself because I worked 3 jobs and went to school full time and partied nonstop. Because that's just what I wanted. I wanted to be independent. I wanted to do it myself, and I wanted to do it my way. I went back to the community college there, did okay, but it was hard to go to school full time and work and have free time. So I started selling pot. I was already smoking pot. I had the hookups. I knew a bunch of people. So it just made sense to sell pot. I'd already dabbled in selling pot here and there. But that's really, it took off and it worked out really well for me because I didn't have to work 3 jobs. I got to like hang out with my friends and sell them pot and go to school and do really well. I was dating a guy that lived in a different city. So I went to his school and sold pot to his fraternity brothers. And they were really good customers. And I would do that 2 or 3 times a week. I'd drive 2 hours to that city and sell them pot and hang out with my boyfriend and go to frat parties. And I was living the dream at that point, is what I thought. This is like, I'm going to go to school. I'm going to pay for my education doing this. And then, things didn't work out with him. So I wasn't driving to sell pot to his buddies anymore. And I couldn't sustain that kind of lifestyle, driving all the time to sell pot. Living in the town I lived in, there was a lot of it. So I didn't have that many customers. Switched over to selling cocaine. The problem with that is that I did a little bit too much of it. I wasn't able to sell enough to make money, so I was just selling enough to support my habit, which grew exponentially. And then I was already drinking, but that's when the alcohol consumption really went through the roof because I was able to drink all night long. I was able to drink into the morning. And I was not going to class at that point. I was totally non-functioning, only drinking, only doing drugs, and then drinking in the mornings to, kill the cocaine buzz from last night and maybe try to sleep a little bit before, people started calling me that night. At some point, I just kind of was like, I don't want to do this anymore. My life had become like a haze, a blur of staying up all night, trying to sleep during the day, not really sleeping. I looked terrible. People that saw me, that knew me, were like, oh my, what's going on? I was losing weight. I looked terrible. And then I got pulled over, and I didn't get arrested. How, I don't know, but everything was confiscated, like everything. A lot of stuff was confiscated from me, and it wasn't mine. I owed, like, it was someone else's, and I owed money for it. And I didn't have the money to pay, the guy that fronted it to me. So I had to leave that town, and I had to leave that town quick. I went back home. And the first week that I went back home, I ran into an old boyfriend of mine. We got together, and he had lived in a different state, become addicted to opiate pain pills, and he was actively doing those. So that's what I did. I moved right in with him. I mean, I saw him. I was like, hey, how you doing? We reconnected that night, and I think I moved in with him the next day, really. The next day or the next 2 days. I didn't have to live with my mom. I didn't have to go back and, put the white flag up and say, I surrender, I'm defeated. I can't do this on my own. So I moved in with him and started I was his road manager. He was a musician, so we started traveling. We started going to gigs, and I was the one that unpacked the gear before the shows, and then I packed up the gear after the shows, and made money doing that, and didn't have to stop doing drugs. I got really heavy into opiates, pain pills. He had an almost endless supply of those, so that's what we did. We didn't really have a home. We kind of lived out of a van or couch surfed in different cities or towns in North Carolina. We go out to the coast and then come back, make a tour back across North Carolina. We did that for a few months until we got caught doing dope in the bathroom, like doing, pills in the bathroom. And that's not cool with a lot of bar owners or club managers. So we were specifically, told we could never come back. And that got, my significant other kicked out of his band. So we had to come home. That's around the first time that I went to rehab. We had to come back. We didn't have a place to go back to. And his parents were like, you guys are really messed up. So they gave both of us a choice to go to rehab or, figure it out on our own. So I went to rehab unwillingly. Everything I owned was in a black trash bag. Everything I owned was in a black trash bag, and that was pretty fitting because that was my life right there, was a black trash bag. That's what I felt like. I felt like a big garbage bag when I went into rehab. I stayed there for maybe 4 days, maybe 5. I left ASA. I signed myself out and threw a middle finger up to everybody that I could come into contact with. I was so angry at everyone. I met a guy there that was from that town, and he was like, yeah, I have friends, let's go. It was on the coast, it was at the beach. He was like, let's go. And I was like, I'm right there with you, let's go. That was a really bad idea. That was a bad idea. I saw things that I thought I was tough, and I thought I was hard, and I thought I'd seen some things, but that was where I was introduced to a whole different level of insanity. I learned, it's where I shot up for the first time. I had no money, and I had one little, crumb of heroin, and I was like, that's not going to do anything to me. I'm not going to sniff that. That's ridiculous. And, the people I'm with were like, yeah, but if you shoot it, you'll get high. So I did. I had said before that I would never use a needle. I would never shoot up. And that's the first of many things that I did that I said I would never do. I stayed there for a few days and then realized that my body was going to end up in a dumpster somewhere if I stuck around. So I dialed a friend and I said, you have to come get me. Like, these people are crazy, like literal insanity. Please come get me. And he did. He came and picked me up, and he dropped me back off at my boyfriend's house, who was also home from rehab. He had left. I knew that he had left. We had kind of coordinated leaving together. And he was able to get a rental house for us, and we moved into that, and we immediately both got jobs. We knew that we were going to have to make money. I got a job at a restaurant. He started teaching music lessons and working for his family business, and kind of went about it like that, still using, kind of not using, still using, kind of not using. And then we both mutually agreed to get clean together. So that's where we started going to meetings. I picked up my first white chip there, not in rehab. I wouldn't pick up a white chip in rehab. I refused. But I did pick up my first white chip at a meeting. It was a speaker meeting. I didn't realize how special that was at the time, but I did pick up a white chip. I remember thinking in that meeting, this guy was telling his story of 30 years in recovery. And I wasn't like, oh man, that's awesome. The thought that was going through my mind was, no way. I'm not doing this for 30 years. I'm not coming to these stupid meetings for 30 years. I hate this. I hated everything about it. I didn't want to do it. I wasn't ready. I hadn't surrendered. I was going to meetings thinking that there was like some special secret thing that I was going to learn. And they were going to tell me how not to want to get high anymore. But what I was hearing wasn't what I wanted to hear at the time. I think I stayed clean about 4 months at that time. And then I went right back out. Didn't work a program. I didn't even talk to people at the meetings, really. I ate the cookies, I drank the coffee, I stood outside and smoked cigarettes, but that's really about it. I wasn't ready. So yeah, I kept getting high. Picked up another white chip, started going to meetings, kind of got involved this time. I kind of got involved, and I liked it. I liked some of the people I was meeting. I still wasn't all in on meetings, but I was trying. I was looking for something. I knew that my way was not working. I wasn't totally surrendered, but I knew that what I was doing was not I couldn't sustain it for any length of time. And I knew I had to get a sponsor because that's what, I was being told I had to do. Keep coming back. Don't pick up no matter what. Get a sponsor, work the steps. So I was going to get a sponsor, and I, on purpose, picked the most unavailable person there. She had already said she wouldn't sponsor me. She didn't have enough time. And I just kept on, with her, like, I really like you. I think that this would work. Could you be my temporary sponsor? And she said, yes, I can be your temporary sponsor. I don't think I was looking for a permanent sponsor, but I just wanted to say that I was doing what I was told I should be doing. We were, going through the steps. I kept complaining about the meetings. I didn't like the meetings. I didn't connect with anybody in the meetings. This 12-step meeting was full of people who were not doing the substance that I had done. They were not from the background that I was from. I really didn't connect with them at that time. I didn't feel any connection to them. Their stories and their shares, they didn't apply to me. I was sicker than all of them. I was way sicker than all of them, in my mind. And this lady said to me, okay, if this is not your meeting, then go find your meeting. There are tons of meetings. I'd only really been to this one meeting. There's another one. I kind of go back and forth in this small town. And there's small meetings. There's, 5 to maybe 8 people on a good night in these meetings. And she said, there's a big world of meetings out there. Go find your tribe. 10 meetings. Try 10 meetings, and don't just try one night of the meeting. Give it a good try. Go there for a couple of weeks, meet all the home group members. They'll rotate through, and give it a week. Go to morning meetings if you can. Go to nighttime meetings. Keep going, and you will find a meeting that you like and that likes you and that you fit into. So I did that. I tried all kinds of different meetings. I had to branch out and travel about 45 minutes away from where I live to find meetings because I live in a small town. There are just a handful of meetings. I walked into a church one night, and it was a big group. Everybody in there looked like they were 70 years old. I felt like I was the youngest person in there. And right away, I was like, this is not going to be it. This is not it. I was used to more women. There were a lot of guys here. It was very different. The speaker that night got up, and we're in a Sunday school room. This meeting's held in like a Sunday school room. And he stands up, and every word out of his mouth was like he was telling my story, you know. And I was like, yep, this is it. I found it. Damn it, she's right. I found it. I was like, this is where I belong. I like this. I liked the people there. And I dove into that meeting. I liked it. I got a sponsor. She terrified the hell out of me, and I felt like she could like read my mind. Like I felt like a fraud in front of her, honestly. I felt like such like a fake that she just looked at me and knew what a fake I was. And one night, I don't even know what came over me, but we're doing the dishes together, the coffee pot, and she was like, she's scary, she's tough. And I looked at her and I was like, you got a minute to talk after the meeting? And she just grinned. She knew what was coming. She smiled. She was like, of course I've got a minute. And, you know, I talked to her about being my sponsor, and she was like, yeah, absolutely. What took you so long? You know, I knew you were going to come around sooner or later. And I was like, so happy in that moment. And the very next second I was terrified, and I was like, I really fucked up. I can't do this. I can't have her as my sponsor. And I told her, I was like, maybe this isn't a good idea. And she was like, oh no, this is a good idea. And I was like, I'm gonna regret this. You're gonna regret this. And she was like, oh yeah, you're definitely gonna regret this. You know, I started working a program. I told her things that I've never told most people, probably never will again. And she didn't judge me. She, you know, helped me through a lot of stuff. She's a really, really great person. I wish that was where the story ended, but it's not. That's not my last white chip I ever picked up. I found out I was pregnant with twins, and it was a shock, but it was a good shock. I'm running out of time here. I had a pretty rough pregnancy. I felt great. I did great through the whole pregnancy. I'm grateful that I was clean and sober while I was pregnant with my kids. I landed in the hospital with a rare condition that identical twins can develop called twin-to-twin transfusion syndrome, which means that basically one twin is eating the other one. They share blood vessels. So one twin literally is sucking the nutrients from the other twin. And I had to have an emergency C-section at 31 weeks, which meant they were 2.5 months premature. Baby A weighed 1 pound 15 ounces. Baby B weighed 3 pounds 3 ounces. To say that I suffered from depression after that is an understatement. I left on pain medicine. I didn't do what I was supposed to do. I didn't call people. I didn't have accountability with that pain medicine. I mean, I'd had a C-section. I was cut open, you know, from side to side. And I kind of just isolated. I cut off connection with all of my friends in recovery. I cut off connections with my family. My kids were in the NICU for 2 months. I was having to travel to Asheville and back. All the while, I was using even heavier than I had when I quit before. I relapsed in the hospital on my pain medicine. I tongued it. The nurse gave me my medicine, and she watches you take a sip of water, and then she leaves, and I took it out from under my tongue and I crushed it up and sniffed it right there, and it was on. From there, it was on, and I didn't look back. The kids came home, they had doctor appointments, and it was a nightmare of learning how to care for preemie kids that need so much care. They were on tons of medicines. One of my kids had a hernia surgery. We found out he has a heart defect, and we were on a wait list at Duke to try to, wait for his open heart surgery. I just couldn't take it. I was not dealing with it well. My significant other wasn't dealing with it well. So we were getting really high the whole time. They were infants, really high. That went on for a while. That went on for a little while until I was coming up on my 30th birthday, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. This is not conducive to raising my children. I didn't want them to know me as a junkie. I didn't want them to see me knotted out. I didn't want them to catch me shooting up in the bathroom. I didn't want them to be in the car with me while I'm high or going out to score. I didn't want to get arrested and spend my life in prison and not be there for them. So around my 30th, it was coming up on my 30th birthday, and I made the decision. I made the choice. Enough's enough. I'm not going to do it. 5 days after my 30th birthday, January 30th, 2012, I gave myself the best late birthday present that a person can ever give themselves. And I laid it all down. I laid it all down, and I totally surrendered. And I said, I'm done. I'm done. This is enough. I've gone back out and done my postgraduate work just to make sure that I can't really do it on my own. And now I'm for sure certain that I have absolutely no control over this. And when those promises start coming true, like when they start manifesting in your life, that feeling, that knowledge, that experience is enough to carry through. That statement, rarely have we seen a person fail that thoroughly follows our path. Yep. And to have those promises like plastered up on the wall in meetings, like that's a pretty big deal. Like, we're going to promise this to you. Like, we're going to lay that out there. Here, these are promises, and it's not like it's a secret, text. It's right there. It's for you to see. These are the promises, and they will come true if we're painstaking. And I got real honest. I really surrendered. I continually surrender every day, surrender. Every day I wake up and I'm thankful for the night before, putting my head on a pillow where I didn't have to put something in my body, a mood altering substance. I went back to school. I got a degree. I split with my significant other that I had used with because his idea of recovery and my idea of recovery are not, they're not in alignment. And that's just what happens sometimes. I had to lay down something that was a really heavy burden. We had to separate and live our separate lives. I've had a surgery since I've been in recovery, and I did not go home with a pain medication prescription. I did what I was supposed to do. I called people. I talked to them. I said, look, I'm having surgery. This is what I'm doing. Every day somebody came and checked on me, and I allowed them to check on me. I allowed myself to be vulnerable and say, I'm not in control. I need help. Please help me. I pray. I ask my higher power to, remove my character defects. I work on that constantly. I allow other people to help me, and I am of service to other people when I can be. If someone asks me to do something, for the good of 12-step fellowship, I cannot say no. If I'm able to do it, I'm not going to say no. I can't. It's just the way we roll. And I'm very happy to be doing that. Yeah, I'm gonna stop. I know Leslie said that we should do some questions. So yeah, thank you guys for letting me share. I'm Kristin and I'm an alcoholic.